Let's talk about State of Origin and the build-up. Looking at Queensland first, Cam, you've been in contact with Billy and what's happening on in Queensland camp. How has the camp been for the Maroons so far?
Oh, it's been a pretty good build-up once again, Danica. I think Billy was really happy with the second camp, to be honest. But speaking with him, he certainly put his hand up and took some of the responsibility for the way they played in Melbourne. And he just said, that fell on him as a coach with, some of the drills and some of the training sessions that they had, and maybe they were a little bit underprepared. But I think there's a different focus for this one, and there needs to be. It's a decider. They don't have that one-game buffer like they did in Melbourne.
Because they did come out during the week and say there was a bit of an honesty session, and Billy was described as being a disappointed dad. Is that something that can bring the best out of this team? Do you feel?
Well, working with this group in the previous two campaigns, they're very responsive to the coaches, and they're a great group to work with because when the coaches talk, they really do respond. And whatever Billy's spoken to them about, and the other coaches have spoken to them about, as far as their improvement is concerned from game two, they would have put that into practice. And I went up there. I was up there yesterday. They had a sort of a lighter session yesterday morning, and they seem extremely focused and everyone's on board with what needs to happen. So, there's no second chances now. That maybe was a part of their mindset for game two and what they were guilty of, knowing that they had a game up their sleeve, but there's no second chances now.
From a technical point of view, what areas do you think Queensland need to improve? Because all I keep hearing is we're playing at Suncorp, but I haven't really heard which part defensively needed to be there. Kicking game needs to be better. We need to put pressure on Jerome Luai. I haven't really heard anything about that.
Well, Joey, Billy hasn't told me anything specifics, but mostly their defence. I think that was the main disappointing fact of game two, was how brittle their defence was, particularly
You're talking
early.
middle defence? You're talking
edge defence? All over, mate.
Okay.
Yeah, just the whole defensive line. How they really didn't bring any type of physicality to the game.
Physically dominated.
Yeah, they didn't bring any physicality to the game, and I think they probably thought they were just going to try and outsmart the Blues with their football. But as we all know, the three of us have played State of Origin football. You need to win the physical battle first before you want to play any type of football, and I think that's going to be their mindset.
Well, who leads that? Generally, you got one leader in the pack who says, "Come with me."
Yeah.
Who is that bloke?
Well, I think that's got to be someone like a Lindsay Collins and Pat Carrigan, those two guys that are going to be starting in the middle. I think those two have to lead it.
What about the inclusion of Ponga? How does he get used in game three? He's obviously coming off the bench. There's a lot of questions as to how exactly he will be used.
Well, I'm not sure what the plan is for Kalen. You got to remember, his debut game, he played in the middle and was fantastic on debut. Then you think back to his last game in the maroon jersey was game 3 of 2022, and he was the best player on the field. So I'm sure Billy will have a plan to get Kalen onto the field. I'm not sure what stage of the game that will be, whether it be first half, whether it be second half. But knowing the way Billy thinks about football, I think the plan will be to get him on the field with that man right there, Reece Walsh, and have that sort of double-prong attack.
Terrifying.
Now, the one thing where there's been criticism is over the bench. Now, work for him with Cobbo in the first game when would you go down?
Yeah, Walsh got
Walsh went down.
Yep.
And the second game, he went with some experienced players, and I felt like New South Wales young blokes and power players come off the bench and made a huge difference. What about this time? You got two front rowers, Mo Fatawaika, Kafusi, then you got the hooker and the back rower.
Yep.
You talk about being physical. Have you got enough there to compete with New South Wales physically if they're your only two middle blokes coming off the bench?
Well, I think so, because there's a bit of rotation and a bit of versatility within the forward pack. You got Ruben Cotter, who can play back row and in the middle. You got Felice Kafusi, who's, well, he's typically been a back rower for the most part of his career, hasn't he? But he's been playing in the middle for the Dolphins over the last month. And that's the challenge, Freddie. That is the challenge that the Maroons have for game 3, is that they need to be able to match the physicality and the aggression of the New South Wales forward pack. I think they're up to it, and they were all very, very disappointed with their performance in game 2, every single player. And I must say, I think they were slightly embarrassed as well with the way they went about that first 40 minutes.